Hey look, it's the mini-boss battle from the Sand Ship. Strangely enough, if you actually target him and speak with Fi, Fi actually gives this character a different name than the mini-boss from the Sand Ship. So I guess it's pretty much just the same enemy, but it's a different character, if that makes sense. Anyway, the boss battle is pretty much identical to how it was on the Sand Ship. There's a few strategies here. For one, if you have the Hylian shield, I'd highly recommend it, or even your Sacred Shield does fine. You can use your shield and just continuously block his attacks and then attack him afterwards. And then in between those attacks you can do some sword slashes and you can harm him that way. One thing I didn't show before is you can actually use the Gust Bellows on this enemy, and while it doesn't actually harm him, it sort of prevents him from attacking. The other method you could use is you could sort of be hyper-aggressive, especially in this later phase, because sometimes when he's gearing up to attack, if you attack him, he won't actually attack you, but once you attack him, he'll sort of get defensive, and you can basically be, like I said, hyper-aggressive against him. Anyway, once the boss battle, or mini-boss of sorts, has been defeated, you could just claw shot over, or there are 5 recovery hearts in this room. There's 2 of them off to the left side of the bridge, and there's 3 of them off on the right side of the bridge. So you want to send out the beetle and pick up any recovery hearts that you need. Afterwards, you want to pull out your claw shot and use the claw shots to grapple on over to the target at the other end of the gap. Just next to the claw shot target is a treasure chest that contains a small key. Within the dungeon, there's only 8 rooms, one of which contains a locked door, and then this room contains the treasure chest that has the small key. So while you more or less have like a variety of orders that you can do the various rooms in, this is one of the cases where you actually have to complete this room before you can go to the other room, since you sort of need the small key to get through the locked door, of course. Anyway, there's a slide puzzle here, and I only made one change. Slid the bottom room over to the bottom left, and that's going to be our next destination. So you want to make your way back into this room. This is just the original dungeon map room, so nothing special here. But you want to open up the door at the other end, and this actually takes us back to the Earth Temple room that we were in previously. Now you want to walk over to the slide puzzle, and we've actually been to 5 of the rooms thus far. There's only 3 more rooms that we need to go to, and those are the 3 Triforce rooms. A few things worth mentioning here. The basically red Triforce one, the one that's currently at the top right, it says you can enter it from either the left or the right. However, if you do enter it from the right side, that'll actually prevent you from progressing. You have to enter that room from the left side. What's cool about where I am right now, I can actually move all of the rooms so that I can actually go to all of the rooms pretty much at the same time, in the sense that I can basically create a pathway where I'm basically capable of going to all the rooms. I can basically knock all the rooms anymore, more or less just saying this is the last time I will ever have to use the slide puzzle. It's not the most efficient manner, I guess, in that, well, it's a little confusing in terms of the slide puzzle, and you might, find yourself, like me, spending a good minute or 2 just trying to organize the rooms. Alternatively, you can just knock them out one at a time. It's really up to you, your own personal preference. But I was trying to get this done in as little use of the slide puzzles, or at least like backtracking to previous rooms. So that's why I chose to go this route. However, it's a bit confusing in terms of the slide puzzle. I have the 2 rooms at the middle left and top left in the order that I want them in. I need to get the other Triforce piece at the bottom, in the bottom middle, and then I need to get the other rooms ordered so that I can reach the other Triforce pieces. And I've finally successfully done it, and as you can see, I can now access all 3 of the Triforce rooms, and most importantly, that red Triforce room I can enter from the right side, and that's what we need to do. So we're now ready to go and collect the Triforce pieces. So head on over to the next room here. This is basically the Sandship room. It has the, well, Sandship music, and it still has the same time shift orb feel to it, and it's a desert-based room. This room is one of my favorite rooms in the entire Legend of Zelda series. Yep, you heard that right. I actually spent a good, I want to say like 40 minutes on this room because I couldn't figure out the puzzles. Now that's going to sound crazy because, you know, I'm going to complete this room in like 5 minutes now. But it's such a small room, but there's like 4 different puzzles within it. And it was very confusing for me the first time around. And I sort of, you know, just was wandering around, couldn't figure out what to do. And I eventually did figure it out. But it was fun. It was not like a frustrating type room. It was more just I couldn't figure it out, and I don't know. That's what Zelda should be about. It's about puzzle solving and the very rewarding feel you should have once you complete the puzzle. So right away, there's a couple enemies here. There's a Centrobe right here in the middle of the room. For some reason, this Centrobe only gave off 1 red rupee, while the ones we fought in the Lanayru mining facility very early on in the game, they gave off like tons of rupees. I'm not sure why they programmed that differently. Anyway, I do like defeating all the enemies first, just to make it easier. And this is the puzzle, this is the part that got me confused. You want to drop the time shift orb there, so it's between the pillar that like rose up and that wall at the other end. Because it's there, it'll cause the little gate on the wall to disappear, and this will basically, if you run over to the other end of the room, you can now use your bow and arrow through the gate that has now disappeared, and you can hit the blue target. This took me forever to figure out. I just couldn't figure it out. I was trying to do things. There's like this fan over there in the corner, and there was like a switch. I'm trying to think, is there some sort of secret? Because if you carry the time shift orb around the room, like the landscape changes, and I just couldn't figure this out. I didn't see the blue target. That was the key. Eventually, I sent out my beetle through that hole, and then I found it, and I figured it out from there. But that was the big key. That was, you know, that little piece, that little puzzle alone took me a good 15-20 minutes to figure out. So I don't know. Maybe it was easier for most people, but for me it was kind of difficult. Over here, I defeated 2 Dekubabas, and now there's a Quadrababa. And I find the Skyward Strike to be the easiest way to defeat them. Anyway, you don't want to bring the time shift orb too close here, because that's going to allow a pillar to be created right in front of this fan here. And it'll also activate the fan, so you won't be able to aim your arrow through the fan. You want to keep the time shift orb away, step on the tile switch, shoot your arrow through the stopped fan, and then hit the blue target. It's another one of those. It has a lot of components to the rather simplistic puzzle, but makes you think, which is what Zelda should be. Afterwards, you want to go and drop the time shift orb over here at this like corner of the room. You want to make sure it's underneath basically the wall here, because there's basically a small passage that you need to have the time shift orb so that it causes the gate to disappear. Afterwards, you want to run back up to the higher platform where we initially picked up the time shift orb. And from there, if you have the time shift orb close enough, you can just jump on over to the pillar, one of the pillars that has risen up here. And from here, you could basically claw on over to the target. And then right over here, there's the little emblem on the ground. Fi will mention you've reached the mark. And this is a route to the Triforce. So pull out your sword, ready it, and thrust it into the ground. This basically takes you to like a Silent Realm type area. And straight ahead is the Triforce, or a piece of the Triforce. This is the Triforce of Wisdom. So that's one of the Triforce pieces down, and there are 2 more left to go. You'll appear back at the little emblem where we just entered that little Silent Realm earlier. The Time Shift Orb will have sort of shifted back, and the whole room sort of reverts. Or most of the room, at least. And that's pretty much going to do it for this room. So go ahead and leave the room. You can break the barrels again to get some extra arrows if you'd like. And then retreat back to the previous room. Now, depending on whether or not you've shifted the rooms accordingly, if you've been following the walkthrough, then you don't need to do any more room shifting at all for the remainder of Skykeep. But if not, you might have to do some shifting. For me, I've arranged it so I basically have access to the entire dungeon now. This room here is sort of like the Ancient Cistern room, in that it's the like underground area of the Ancient Cistern. So this is the 5th themed room in a sense. We've seen rooms based on the Skyview Temple, Earth Temple, Lanayru Mining Facility. Now this is the Ancient Cistern room, and we've also seen the Sand Trip room. So it's like they almost rehashed all the music in a sense too. But you can now use the small key. That was that same key we got after defeating basically that mini-boss from the Sand Ship. So now there's a series of just a lot of enemies here. In this first room there's 2 spear moblins. Basically what you want to do is, I find it easier to just jump over them initially, especially that second one, because this is a rather narrow passageway. You don't want to get stuck in between them, but you want to get behind them. Just run over, jump over their heads basically, and then just slash away at their backsides. And once both of the Metal Shield Moblins have been defeated, you can progress to the next room. This next room has a variety of enemies. Number 1, there's some Bokoblin, some green Bokoblin archers. They're all over the room, really. There's a couple of them in the distance here on the right. There's also some blue Bokoblins on the ground level. And there's also some Bokoblin archers to the left, higher up. Some of them we can't actually hit from here. And there's also some bones you can see along the ground. And once you walk over these bones, this actually causes Stalfos to appear. They'll basically come up from the bones, and there's basically Stalfos enemies. So it's kind of a cool room in that it's like a mixture of a bunch of enemies we've seen before, but it's sort of like all in one, and that's pretty typical of what, the final dungeon should be about. It's like the same enemies. It would be nice to see more new varieties of these enemies, or brand new enemies altogether, but a common theme in Zelda is, towards the later half of the game, it's the familiar enemies you've already fought, but now different unique combinations of them that make for a difficult boss battle, or a difficult room, I should say, not really a boss battle. If you need any hearts, there are some hearts in the eyes of that little demon statue thingy, and that's also very reminiscent of the basement area of the Ancient Cistern. Over here there is a Stallmaster. Stallmaster was the boss from the mini-boss from the Ancient Cistern, and it's not just Stallmaster either. The room will also fill up with cursed Bokoblins. So again, it's like the greatest hits of Ancient Cistern in a way. What I would suggest is defeat the cursed Bokoblin first, because it could get difficult trying to fight Stallmaster basically while fighting the cursed Bokoblin. These cursed Bokoblin, you could just keep slashing away at them and they'll eventually die, However, they have a lot of health, and your best bet is to knock them on the ground and then deliver a blow and like thrust at them downward to defeat them. So just deliver the fatal blow to get rid of them, and that's just my method of completing this room. You could just fight Stallmaster right away. Other than that, the boss battle with Stallmaster is more or less identical to the mini-boss battle from the Ancient Cistern. There's various methods you can use to defeat him. You could use your shield and sort of just deflect his attacks, and that'll cause his arms to crumble, and you can just get 3 hits on him. You can also just roll some bombs or plant some bombs, and once they explode, the bones of Stallmaster will crumble, and you'll be able to get some free shots in. Alternatively, you can just use some precision sword attacks. It's the same 2-phase system. In the first phase here, he only has his 2 arms, and it's almost identical to a regular Stylefloss battle. During the second phase, he'll bring out his other 2 limbs, and now he has 4 arms here. And sometimes he'll block 3 different sides, and you'll just have to attack him from the one open side. Other times he'll block all 4 of the sides, and you'll have to do a jab with your sword. So either way, it's, like I said, it's identical to the Ancient Cistern boss battle, or mini-boss, so use whatever means that you find is easier for you, and just go ahead and defeat Stallmaster. In general, Stallmaster is one of my favorite bosses, or favorite mini-bosses. It's kind of a shame, I guess, that you only fight him twice. I think he's one of the bosses that really makes very good use of the Wii Motion Plus. So I wish there was more bosses like this. I mean, sure, some of the regular bosses, they do use the Wii Motion Plus a lot, but this particular enemy almost requires more precision strikes using Wii Motion Plus, as opposed to like the regular Bokoblin, which, yeah, it blocks side by side, but you more or less could waggle your way through. Anyway, there is a fairy that you could get to fill up your life or to store in a bottle. I didn't pick it up, since once you get the piece of the Triforce anyway, that will fill up your hearts as well. So once again, just sort of thrust your sword into the ground and go ahead and pick up the Triforce of Courage, the second piece of the Triforce, or at least for me. So we only got one more piece of the Triforce to get, and in fact we only have one more room to go to. One more brand new room to go to, I should say. We'll have to backtrack through previous rooms to get there, but we will do that and complete the Sky Keep in the next video. So I will see you guys then.